Right, hello everyone. A very warm welcome to everyone that's joining us tonight. So this event is aimed at our new first year, Year 12 students and parents and carers. And we put this event on really, so we thought it would be really useful to outline the support that your student is going to receive at the college to achieve the best outcomes from the whole college experience. And by that, I don't mean just achieving academically the best grades possible, but also how we, the careers department, can also help your student develop that added extra. And by that, I mean all the amazing activities that are on offer for students. We put on a huge array of activities throughout the year where students can take part in activities to build their CVs and strengthen their personal statements if they choose to go to university. So as a careers department, we've got so many exciting opportunities on offer, and although some of these events will be virtual this year, we're absolutely determined that this cohort of student is not going to miss out. So I've been working really hard with universities and employers to set up various enrichment activities, and I'm really thrilled that everything that we offered last year is going to take place this year, but it might look slightly different. So Janet, one of our careers advisors, is going to talk through those activities with you and just highlight a few of the key things that you can take part in. So just to outline the plan for tonight, so I'm Jo Bishop, which I should have said right at the start. So I'm head of careers in Angel, and then in a minute you're going to meet Nathan Nagaya, who's our assistant principal and head of the Angel campus. So he's going to do a short welcome. And then we're really delighted to welcome Anam Hock from Queen Mary University of London, who's going to share with us his top tips on how students can make the most of Year 12. And then following on from Anam, we've got our careers advisor, Janet Willoughby, who's going to talk through what the offer looks like at the Angel campus. And then we're really thrilled that we're going to be joined by some current undergraduates, one of who is an alumni who are also going to share how they balance their study and enrichment activities and how they again made the most of their college experience, and that they are now both at university. So one is studying at Durham University and one is at Leicester University. So without further ado, I'm going to pass on to Nathan in a second, but also just to say this event is recorded, and if you note in the Q&A function, I've put the link to our YouTube channel where this event will be posted afterwards. That is also your space if you would like to ask some questions, that if you feel that we haven't answered anything, then obviously you can put those in there. But we have tried to plan this evening. I'm a parent of a new Year 12 myself, so we'll kind of try to plan the event and the content around the questions that I would want to know as a parent. But obviously we may well miss things out. So, but that is your opportunity. Put your questions in the Q&A and I will try and answer as many as I possibly can. So I am just going to pass on to Nathan, if you give me 2 seconds.
Cheers. Thank you, Jo.
2 seconds, Nathan. Okay, Nathan, you're live.
Thanks very much, Jo. Hi, my name is Nathan Nagaya. As Jo explained, I'm the assistant principal head of the Angel campus, so I've got direct responsibility for the Sixth Form College and the Centre for Applied Sciences at the Angel campus, part of the City and Islington College. Now, once again, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you to our college. As you will be aware, the last 6 months has been an extraordinary period of time with the pandemic. We are committed to provide the best education possible in the safest way possible. We want you to focus and build resilience for the students. And as a parent or carer, we recognize the important role you have to play in supporting our students to achieve the best outcomes. The college is, as always, committed to enabling students to study and develop personally within a young adult environment. Therefore, we routinely communicate directly with the students. However, we recognize that communication with parents and carers is still very important. We provide regular feedback and reports on students' progress. And we also do some parent and carers events, and parents and carers are encouraged to get in touch if they have any concerns. Now, the main point of contact on the campus would be the student's personal tutor. So if you as a parent and carer, you've got some queries that you want to find out about your progress of your child, please contact the student's personal tutor. Now, please also use the opportunities on any parent consultation evenings to review progress and ask any questions. More details of this will be communicated with the parents shortly. Alongside with academic support, we have a team of advisors who can signpost students to other sources of support, such as financial support, counselling and learning support. Now, this is a very important part of my speech, is around this current blended learning approach. Now, we are very, very pleased that all of you students have been able to learn remotely and on site, or a combination of both, although some of you, I recognise, are currently doing most of your lessons remotely online. Now, at the moment, we are working very closely with our heads of department in planning for a safe but staggered return of students to the campus. For A-levels, this would most likely be the 3-hour session will be conducted on site, and the 1.5 hours lesson will be online. We will communicate with students on this and the plan going ahead, and when this will happen for which subjects. So, and as I mentioned before, we are doing it. It's going to be staggered basis, and we will communicate with students to tell them which subjects are going to start to come on campus, and that will happen very shortly within the next couple of weeks, and that will be communicated to all the students in advance. Now, and as I mentioned again, this will be a staggered basis, and it has been up to now for subjects such as sciences, arts and etc. So they're already coming on site for the 3-hour sessions. So if you got 4.5 hours of biology, 3 hours of the biology sessions are currently on site. The 1.5 hours are currently online. If you do subject like philosophy or history, for example, at the moment you're doing the entire 4.5 hours of the subject online, but we are now moving that to have more on site and less so online. But that will be communicated out with the proper planning, and we will explain to you which subject on which week we're going to start to bring back students to campus. And again, this is the most important part of it, is that students, when they are coming to campus, as they will be communicated shortly, they must follow the control measures that we put in place to ensure the building and the students and the staff are COVID secure. So this includes wearing masks at all times. That is, as the moment you enter the college campus until you leave, including in the classroom, you must wear and put the mask on at all time. You must regularly wash your hands and use the hand sanitizers, and follow a one-way entry and exit system throughout the college when they're on site. Students will be asked to leave the site if they do not comply with this COVID security. So as parents, I'm sure you do want to have more face-to-face contact. We want to do that. We are planning towards that very shortly. However, we want to make sure that students keep themselves safe and keep people around them safe, and they must comply with this very strict rules that we have in place to keep everyone's safety at the top priority. So we are bringing the subjects back on site in a staggered basis. A part of the lesson will be delivered on site and part of the lesson will be delivered online, and we will communicate that out very shortly. Now, and this is quite an important part around A-levels and BTEC, and as you all know, they are intended to prepare students for undergraduate study, and it is clear that if you can develop these independent study skills during your time at the sixth form or CAS, you will begin university with a good head start. However, more than that, acquiring these skills will actually improve your chances of gaining a place at that university in the first place. Now, they will also place you in the best position to apply for a competitive apprenticeships if this is what you decide. It is difficult to study, to generalize about study skills, and you will need to work with your tutors and teachers to find your most effective approach to studying. My colleagues will talk to you about the study skills very shortly. We got a colleague from colleague Anam will share about his top skills and tips from a university perspective very shortly today. But this is a message to all the parents. We are planning for a safe return to campus very shortly. We will communicate that out to the students and to you as parents and carers. But we do want to make sure the building is continue to be safe, and there is certain limitation as the class capacity. So that's why it takes some time for us to plan that. But we are in a good form in terms of bringing students back for parts of their lesson on site, and we will then also communicate around the scholarship program that we introduced at the start of the year, and that will also start to kick off very shortly, and that will also be communicated with all the parents. So thank you very much, and I'll pass over to my colleague Joe.
Thanks, Nathan. OK, so following on from Nathan, we're going to hear from Anam from Queen Mary University. So if I ask Anam to, oh, beg your pardon.
Yeah.
So we're going to following on from Nathan, we're going to pass on to Anam. So Anam, could I ask you to share your slides, please?
Great, thank you. Can everyone see that?
Not yet, nearly.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anam Hock, and I work at Queen Mary University of London. I'm going to give you guys a short presentation of around 15 minutes, just to go over how I think you guys can make the most of Year 12. So whether you're a student listening in or whether you're a parent, hopefully you'll pick up a few tips and a bit of advice which you can then incorporate throughout the following academic year. Of course, starting Year 12 may seem like a daunting prospect for some of the students who will be starting college or sixth form this year. There are many challenges ahead, none more so than the addition of a pandemic, which has obviously made things far more challenging. But nonetheless, either way, it was always going to be a challenge in terms of stepping up academically into Year 12, following on from your GCSEs. So whether you're studying A-levels or BTEC, it brings with it new ways of learning. Now, at the same time, you'll be looking at how you can deal with that workload and the fact that this will require a more diligent time management in terms of keeping on top of all your work, whilst you may be studying fewer subjects, which may be more compartmentalized. The amount of work and the deadlines and the work that needs to be produced will be far more than what you would have experienced previously. You may also be settling into a new sixth form or maybe getting used to having new people around you, whether they're in your different classes or having new teachers. So again, that's another thing which you need to be able to navigate as well. Likewise, as mentioned already, managing the challenges of COVID-19 presents to teaching and to learning is a new challenge for many of us, none more so than teachers and for students alike. And at the same time, whilst you are starting Year 12, you will have your eyes set on, hopefully, applying to university and all the build-up that precedes submitting your application. And some of that we will look at today. Now, whilst you start Year 12, it's really important to bear in mind that the way you would have worked up until now through your GCSEs will mean that you need to get used to new ways of working. And this will include, hopefully, establishing and building new habits, good habits that will help you through the first year and going forward as well into Year 13 and into higher education as well. Now, one of the key things which you need to be able to make sure is that you're on top of your work. That means organising your work becomes something far more important than it normally would do. So ensuring that you get into a routine that incorporates plenty of study time and utilise to-do lists, for example, if you are not doing so already, will help you to maximise your productivity and prioritise homework tasks. Some of the things which you can do is set reminders. You can do that either by using your mobile phones these days, your iPads, or your PCs, where you can, of course, link all your calendars into your phones, into your laptops. There's no getting away. In fact, there's no escaping technology these days. So really, we don't have an excuse. But But it's really important that you start to think about how you organize your work. Studying maybe 3 A-levels or 4 A-levels, for example, or managing multiple projects whilst you're studying your BTECs means you need to stay on top of all the work and the deadlines that were coming on a regular basis. So whilst you are taking notes, whilst you are receiving work at class, make sure you start to think about how that will then be organized come your independent learning. One of the other things we advise students to do is to revise as you go along. Now, traditionally, students kind of think, we'll revise towards the end, or we'll revise maybe when the exam's getting closer, or we'll start to tackle our project work as the deadline looms. But really, if you revise as you go along, then this reduces your workload, your revision workload, nearer to the time or to the deadline, for example, when you need to hand in your work. And this means you also then actually learn the work properly. So rather than it being a in one ear, out the other, hopefully you give yourself enough time to embed the information that you're receiving, and hopefully it allows you to actually really understand it. It also gives you the opportunity to go back and maybe ask questions to teachers, get support if and where you don't understand something, and that helps you in terms of long-term learning. So that's really important to remember as you're going along. Don't leave things to the last minute. Don't leave finding past papers towards the exam. Rather try and focus on finding this information as soon as possible. The other thing to bear in mind is to consolidate your learning as you are going along. So after class, for example, read up on what you have learned to consolidate your new knowledge. Make flashcards, for example, with short snippets of information on each topic, and complete further reading. Don't wait, like I've said before about, trying to revise later on. Try and ensure that you've learnt everything within that class that you've just taken. Go away, sit down and think about what you've read, think about whether you've understood it, and think about what you have learned, and then think about what you probably didn't pick up, and then use that opportunity to go out there and to get that support. That way you ensure that you're learning as you're going along. Now, the other thing which students always tend to struggle with is procrastination. So one of the things you should try and get used to doing is, when you're assigned a piece of work, start focusing on getting that work done. When you have to work, try not to put things off, or try and make excuses for yourself, like telling yourself, oh, I'll do this after I've seen X show, or after I've, gone out and done this or that. Rather, try and make sure that you set yourself specific deadlines. Procrastination is one of those things that can lead to missing deadlines, and it, inevitably leads to producing rushed work. So try and get things done as soon as you can, and also that means try and reduce your distractions. So if there are certain things which cause you to delay tackling your work, whether that is a Netflix series that's going on, whether that's social media, whether that's computer games, or whatever it is and that's around you, try and put these things to the side. Move them away if you have to. If it means falling into temptation, move those things aside so that you have time to actually focus. And lastly, independent study. Can't really emphasize this enough. You guys are starting essentially your first steps towards independent study over the next kind of 5+ years, because next few years at college you'll be studying independently, and that will continue whilst you get to university. So this is a great way to actually try and look at transitioning into working independently. So some of the things which you can do is start taking good notes when you are in your class, okay, and start making sure you organize those notes. Don't just take them and forget about them. Rather, try and make sure you really organize your notes so you can come back to them. And likewise, it's up to you to organize one-to-one. So whether you need to see your tutor to get some support with your work, you need to organize that. And then think about how you can make the most of your free periods and lunchtime. Of course, it's different to when you were doing your GCSEs, where you had lesson after lesson. Now you have periods where you're free, or maybe lunchtimes, which may be an hour or longer. Rather than maybe waste that time maybe overly socializing, try and think about how you can potentially catch up or really spend some quality time understanding the work that you've just gone through in your lessons and through your subjects. Independent study, do remember, doesn't mean that you can't ask others for help. You can and you should, but independent study is more about organising your own work and being able to meet your own deadlines. Now, whilst you're studying for your A-levels or your BTECs, and hopefully for a degree later on, there are a number of different skills you'll gain while studying. Now, this is something which universities will look for and employers alike when you are applying. Now, I've listed some of the things which you might not normally think that you are doing whilst you're studying, but inevitably you are. So, for example, time management, so managing your own work, presentation skills, you may be presenting in a class, whether that's in person or online, for example, problem solving, and that will come with a lot of the issues that you will face with your work, analytical skills, so when you are analysing your own work, teamwork, so if you are doing group work, you know, that's something that you'll be picking up. Project management, again, naturally, when you are managing a piece of work. Research skills, which goes into, of course, the work that you are producing, and then general skills such as, you know, communication, persuasive skills when you may be writing, and, you know, generally taking your own initiative in your work. Alongside that, you may look at acquiring new skills over the next couple of years, both in year 12 and year 13. So you might think about maybe studying for a language alongside your studies at the moment. And that's something which you may be able to do online through some of the free online sessions, for example, that are available. Likewise, picking up new IT skills. You know, this is the dawn of a new era, which I think was always inevitable regardless of the pandemic, that we were always going to move towards working in a world which is far more connected in terms of technology. So picking up skills such as programming or social media is something that may be very useful for you over the coming few years. Likewise, you might want to take advantage of maybe doing some mentoring, which may assist you later on in terms of your employment as well. Now, if you're someone who may not be able to work whilst you're studying, for a number of different reasons, then don't worry. Of course, this is something which employers will be looking for. Likewise, universities will be looking for, specifically for some subjects. But there are a number of other things which you can do to try and mitigate that. And those include things such as volunteering. Now, whilst this pandemic is going on, one of the things it does provide us is the opportunities to help other people. Now, there are a number of different projects that are taking place, maybe around your local area. Of course, there are other national charities as well running campaigns. So there's ample opportunities to actually get involved and volunteer. Likewise, you can attend a lot of free seminars and conferences that are being offered online. So again, that's something you should be actively looking for. Getting involved with community work, and that can involve, for example, mentoring, or it could be working, delivering food parcels, for example, or it could be befriending people on the phone and checking in on people to see that they're okay. Likewise, sports teams and societies, again, is something which may be available to you, and is another way of actually acquiring some of that skill and experience, whether that's organisation, whether that's leadership. And other opportunities may present themselves through work shadowing, for example. So where you are unable to get a job yourself, you may look at the opportunity to potentially shadow someone, and those requests can go into people who you may have contact with through college or through other avenues as well. So don't think that there aren't opportunities out there. There are. You've just got to really go out there and find them. Be really proactive and take the initiative to find those. Now, whilst we are on the issue of technology, utilising all the available resources for you is something which you can take advantage of. Some of you may have already been working like this, you know, by utilising some of the different mediums that are available out there. YouTube, for example, gives you ample opportunity. There's so many creators out there, so many channels for you to utilise for your learning. So, for example, Mr. Bruff, Hegathy Maths, Dr. Physics A, Six Science. These are some of the YouTube channels which you can utilise for your learning. And in fact, there's some really great material there which they have increased over the last 6 months due to the pandemic, and that's all very interactive. It's a fun way to learn as well. It's a great way to actually remember a lot of the work as well. So, you know, it's a great way to look at your notes, from the class you've had, and then use that work, use the channels as a supplementary way of gaining more information. Likewise, e-journals are a great way to find more information and research more into your subjects. JSTOR is one of those, and you may have to check through your college, of course, if you guys have access, and there are different access points available through that. But again, that's really useful when you are working on particular projects. Likewise, MOOCs, massive open online courses. They're free. There are others with subscriptions as well, but there is a lot of fantastic free content out there. So whether you use edX, Sailor, Coursera, or Khan Academy, they tailor to so many different subjects, a wide range of topics as well. So a lot there for you to actually try and learn from as well. So have a look at your modules, have a look at the subject content which you may be covering over each semester, and think about how you can also use some of the online content available. FutureLearn also is a great tool, similar to MOOCs. They have multiple topics available. It's a great way to actually complete courses online, and they give you sort of electronic certificates. It's something which you can put on your CV as well. And they offer a number of different courses which you can do online, both from the academic to something maybe more fun, maybe something that you have more of an interest in later on as well. And TED Talks, I'm sure everyone's heard of that. TED.com, you can also find their podcasts online. A great way to get information from some really renowned speakers, experts in their fields, to really enhance your knowledge. Now, in terms of looking ahead and applying to university, some of the things you should realise at year 12 is that you really need to start researching now. You need to get to a point where you can plan some ideas of what course you might be interested in. And this will, of course, save you a lot of time come year 13, when you'll be thinking about, of course, completing your application. So think about how you can really set your stall out in terms of the subject that you want to study, and obviously start researching into that. There's a lot of tools available on university websites. And of course, you can speak with your teachers and career services as well. We've mentioned work experience. So if you are able to, of course, it's difficult, with the pandemic going on, and I understand that, but there are, of course, still opportunities to volunteer. There are still opportunities to try and work with charities within your local area to try and gain some of that work experience. Some of the things which you can do in the meantime, maybe to acquire some qualifications online. So, for example, you can do a free first aid course online at Virtual College. And they offer a number of other free courses as well. So, for example, if you may be studying or looking to study medicine at university or dentistry, and you don't have the opportunity to get that work experience in person, then by getting this online experience and qualification through Virtual College, you can actually put that down in your application, and that will show that you've taken the initiative, and it tells us that you're actually trying to make the most of the situation. The other thing to bear in mind is there's going to be a lot of open days and taster days available through universities, either in person or online through virtual events. So, for example, Queen Mary, we're still running our open days. Our next one is on the 3rd of October, and that will be virtual, and that will give people the opportunity to partake in subject talks, taster talks, but still get that experience virtually, which they would have done had they visited us on campus. The other thing which you can think about is either doing EPQs or the Duke of Edinburgh Awards to really enhance your application to university later on. And that's something which can go in your CV and really highlight your commitment to going the distance, going the extra mile in terms of enhancing your CV. And of course, as I just mentioned before, attending open days as well. So really think about university, or have it at the forefront of your mind, rather than thinking, oh, I'll think about this next year. Actually, students who do well with their application start to think about it in year 12. And finally, looking after yourself. It goes without saying that, whilst you are aiming and are being ambitious in wanting to do well in your first year, don't forget to look after yourself. Make sure you look after your sleep and have a good sleep pattern. With everything that's happening in the world, it might be a difficult time, and I'm sure anxiety levels are always up as well, but do try and look after your sleep. Likewise, try and stay healthy. Make sure you get a good dose of exercise every day. Try and maintain a healthy, balanced diet. to help and maintain, you know, a good mind, body and soul. Take up some hobbies if you don't have some already, you know, whether that's sport, whether that's arts and crafts, whether that's film, whatever it is, try and maybe, you know, get a hobby if you don't have one already. And it's something you can mention in your applications to university as well. If you need help, talk to others, you know, don't be afraid to approach people, whether that's your parents, whether that's your teachers, whether that's other people who you trust in your close circles. Do speak to people if you are going through issues or you're finding something difficult. You know, don't suffer in silence. And lastly, with everything that's going on, try and create a study environment at home. We're doing a lot more online learning, and it might be sometimes difficult to create that environment where you can really have some maybe peace and quiet, or have a space where you can actually study. It's up to everyone in the home to create that environment and to share that space and make sure everyone is organised within the home to create that right study environment. So those are my tips. Hopefully you guys will find that useful and incorporating some of that already. But the next year, of course, will be a big challenge, a big step up for you, but one which I'm sure you guys will all be very much capable of achieving.
Great, thank you, Anam. Right, so now we're going to pass over to Janet Willoughby, one of our careers team. Okay, Janet, so your slides are up.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, welcome everybody. My name's Janet Willoughby, one of the careers advisors here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about, you know, just in terms of our offer and what we have available. Okay. Right, so the aims of today's session really is to really focus on the support that is available for the students here, and how the career service can help support students here in exploring their ideas and their options. We're going to take a really good look at enrichment opportunities and the consideration regarding why, when and how, especially in light of the new virtual landscape. We're going to be having a look at Get Ahead News, which is our bulletin. And we're also going to be sharing about our careers YouTube channel. And we're delighted to say that we also have a former Candi student here to kind of share their experiences with you here. Okay, so I think first and foremost, it's really important that that you're ready. I think it's important that we're all ready. I think we're all in this together and this current situation. It's important, firstly, that obviously you're ready for your first year. It's a new experience. Be ready for your studies, you know, really embrace it. Very much what Anam was saying just a while ago, just in terms of the preparation is really key, mentally and physically ready. And also just be ready to kind of be receptive to the range of opportunities that are available to you, because you'll find in this coming year, in the next few weeks, there is so much out there, both what we will offer you in the career service, but also in the broader sense of the term, because there really is so much out there virtually. Also to kind of really focus in on existing skills, qualities and attributes, just be really ready to shine a torch on who you are and to really enhance your skills and qualities. Being ready to be competitive, because yeah, it is actually exciting. I think there are still many things to smile about in light of what's happening out there at the moment. So to be really competitive and excited about the jobs market and further education. And really making the most of your time with us, because as the cliche does go, it does really go really quickly. Okay, so the actual careers offer. So we offer bookable appointments virtually via guidance interviews, and we're on hand to support each and every student within our sixth form college. We can help you plan ahead. Really go to town on really exploring your ideas and your options. really helping you to kind of think about what skills and experiences that you would need for your chosen career or degree pathway. So for example, whether it be a legal pathway, you know, what sorts of skills would I need? Maybe, for example, like advocacy, public speaking, debating, mooting, etc. So it's really, this is the window to really hone in on those skills. And also sometimes it's also worth looking at it in the reverse order. Sometimes it's actually easier to actually work out what it is you don't want to do and work your way that way around as well. So sometimes elimination is just as good. So to always focus on that also. Okay, so I think it's really important to think about this time next year when you're in year 13. And I think it's really important, the question why will begin to kind of emerge. And it's also very much about thinking about what you want to study, but why do I really want to study that subject? Really exploring, you know, is it regarding my bigger picture? Is it my career aspirations? Is it based upon the fact that I really like the course? And also in terms of your kind of future options, in terms of career wise, why do I want to follow that pathway? So I think why will get bigger and bigger as you go along, especially for those of you that want to apply to university. You know, why is a huge one on your UCAS personal statement. If all roads lead to why. As well as a degree apprenticeship, for example. Why do you want to apply for this job? So it's really important that you start to prove yourself, because that is the order of the day, really, proving your interest and your fascination with it. A lot of it now is going to be more and more based on evidence. And obviously, when you're thinking about that person that's going to be reading your application, they're going to be looking for key things. So whether it is an admissions tutor or whether it is a recruitment company sifting through many apprenticeships, they're looking for those that are actually motivated and keen, really showing a keen interest in that subject or that job, having a real dedication, that spark, because I think, you know, those that shine really do shine through. Real good evidence of literacy in terms of how you articulate your thoughts, and really they're focusing on that person that will be interesting to teach. So that will definitely follow through in life moving forward, whether it is a job or whether it's a university application. So really it's about what makes you stand out. It's really important. Okay, so regarding work experience, so obviously we really do value work experience, but we're really clear that we don't want it to actually infringe on your learning time. So by work experience, we're looking at any little windows of opportunity that you may have, whether it be half term or Easter breaks, for example. Obviously, in light of COVID-19, it's really important. I think we're all becoming more and more creative. So please do not stop in your quest for searching for opportunities. Be really creative in your experiences. Virtual experience is just as good, if not better, in terms of experiencing opportunities. And, you know, more and more students are shadowing experts on Zoom and other virtual platforms as well. And obviously we do value it, as I said earlier. So it's something that we kind of want you to think about now, before you enter into the second phase of your learning within the second year, and just know that opportunities are ready and waiting for you. Okay, so obviously it's really important that you build your CV here with us and really kind of think about the sorts of enrichment that you could engage in. So I've just given you a small list of some of the things that we do have on offer here. So it can be anything from politics sessions, or maybe mentoring opportunities. There's Toast, which is a student magazine here, which is run by the students for the students. And there's also Legal Action, which I run, which I'll be sharing with you in a moment as well. So that this is just a little snapshot of some of the things that are happening here. Okay, so this is a screen grab of the Candi Enrichment booklet. Just wanted to draw your attention initially to the colour coding here. So they've tried to make it really simple. So the colour code really is like, for example, the engineering is yellow, sports is abbreviated with the SP in red. So it will make more sense when I show you the next slide. So as you can see here, so for example, if you look at legal action and it's got the abbreviation LH, obviously that's law and humanities, and the SS is social sciences. So it just really gives you a really good overview as to the different career pathways that it actually lends itself to. So it's really worth checking that out, the enrichment booklet. But there is quite a lot on there. Okay, so just in terms of our networking, in terms of the employers that we've worked with, as you can see, this is just an example of many other employers that we have been working with within the career service. So this is just a little screen grab here of just some of the examples of the employers that we have had the benefit of working with, and there's been some amazing successes here at the sixth form. Okay, so Get Ahead News. This is the newsletter that I mentioned earlier, available for all students, and it's actually emailed to the students' inbox, and the next edition is actually now available on Moodle. So all students are familiar with Get Ahead News, and it's absolutely packed with lots of opportunities, and it's updated on a weekly or fortnightly basis. It's really, really worth paying attention to it, because I think we tend to find that so many students, you know, gain so much from accessing this actual newsletter, and those that don't, it's almost like it's such a shame, especially when we're seeing students in year 13, when they get in towards the phase of trying to apply for fill out their UCAS application, and you can see the gaps where it would have been so much more beneficial had they accessed Get Ahead News. They would have been able to have kind of brought to life their personal statement far better. So we can always tell those that have accessed it when we look at their UCAS personal statements and those that haven't. Okay, so this is an example of one of the many opportunities that are live at the moment on Get Ahead News. So this is with Curve Media, and we've been working with them for quite a while now. They're an amazing media company. And really, you know, as the strapline says, it's for those that are interested in an opportunity within television. And they're offering kind of a workshop program whereby young people are able to kind of liaise a development session with industry professionals, and they'll actually learn how to write up their ideas into winning TV treatments. So they're a really successful media company, have produced some amazing programs. So it's definitely one of those opportunities. You've literally got to be in it and apply for it, and the deadline is coming very soon. So again, this is on Get Ahead News. Okay, another one I wanted to draw your attention to is the Career Ready Plus program. This is another outstanding opportunity for young people, and their emphasis is on preparing young people for the world of work. So they're going to be offering mentoring opportunities and masterclasses and workplace visits, obviously all in accordance with the COVID-friendly policies, and also internship opportunities as well. Having said that, it's a really competitive process in which they will be ascertaining who will be the best candidates for the actual opportunities, and they will be notified. So for those that don't actually get the opportunity to enter into this opportunity, there will be masterclasses available for anyone to attend. So they're also offering that as a wider offer. Okay, but for further information on this and for more detail, it's actually also available on our Careers YouTube channel. Okay, really amazing opportunity. Okay, so obviously we've also been running Lloyds Junior Scholars, which is an amazing opportunity, which is also running in combination with Lloyds, and it's a 10-week series of workshops where they offer the young people CV writing workshops, top tips for video interviewing, which is becoming increasingly popular, a process for screening and sifting applicants. They'll be really honing in on their presentation skills and really getting them to understand their unique brand. As well as that, networking, giving them an overview of Lloyds and the industry in the banking and financial sector. We've had quite a lot of successful students students that have come through the Lloyds Junior Scholars Programme, and even most recently one of our students managed to secure a degree apprenticeship in the auditing department with Lloyds Banking Group as a result of completing the Lloyds Junior Scholar Programme. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, another one of the programs that's on offer, and the application window is now open, is the legal action workshops. So it's been in existence for quite a while. I'm fairly new to the service, so I've been here, this is my second year here, and I've been successfully running it for the past 2 years, and I have to say I've really enjoyed it. And we offer a comprehensive range of talks and events, and obviously pre-COVID we did quite a lot of trips, but we are really going to make sure that we recreate that experience and make it as memorable and as exciting as it has been in previous years for our new cohort of students. And really it's for any student that's interested in the legal sector, but it can also be those that are politically minded, those that are interested in criminal justice, psychology, sociology, advocacy, human rights. So it does go across a huge spectrum. It's not just for those that want to be lawyers or barristers. Okay, so I must stress that. And we have guest speakers, so obviously we must cover the barristers, the solicitors, but we've had policy advisors. So we've got some really good links. So for example, we have a policy advisor that comes in from the Howard League for Penal Reform, and they're a lobbyist group against prison reform for young people, young offenders in prison. So she amazes us with some absolutely shocking statistics on the volume of young people in prison, and that's a really, really good workshop. We also have a solicitors firm that actually led on the Grenfell inquiry, and they acted on behalf of the fire service, and also Baby P. We also have the University of Law that will be coming in, offering a range of different sessions. For example, one of the sessions that proved really popular was like Murder File, where they actually reinvestigated the O.J. Simpson trial, as well as the trial of the selfies, which looks at intellectual property and media rights on who owns your selfie. Really interesting stuff. Most recently, we've had a sports lawyers coming in talking about anti-doping laws. They actually represented Tyson Fury. That went down really well, so she's quite happy to come in again. So a lot of these guest speakers have enjoyed it, so much so that they're all happy to return again online. So as we speak, we've also got some muting sessions coming up and debating with the University of Hertfordshire as well. So there is just so much to say for legal action. So that's definitely one not to miss. Plug. As you can see, there's a link at the bottom for the application form because the window is now open. Okay, just to also say that we also have some presence on social media. Sorry, let me just go back. So we are available on Twitter. We have our own Twitter handle, as you can see there. So again, it's really worth following us on Twitter to keep abreast of all the latest developments and all the latest opportunities that we have as well. As well as that, we have a brand new, hot off the press, a YouTube channel. And again, all the backdated sessions that we have, for example, like this one, will be on the YouTube channel, as well as top tips from employers, and all the kind of key information that we have will all be posted on the YouTube channel. So please share and join and subscribe. And that way you won't miss any opportunities that come your way. Okay, so some top tips. Really important that you grab every opportunity. I mean, not literally, but try and be as indulgent as you can. Really important that you unmute your mic and contribute. I think that's the new strapline now. 2020 and beyond is about learning to unmute your mic, be in the moment and really participate and show that you are there, because I think it's really, really important that you do that, because you can very much get into that situation where you're just listening and listening and listening and not feeling that you're participating. And I just think it really adds confidence and adds value to your learning. So like, for example, example, and a classic example of a group of our students just yesterday who had taken part in a 10-week virtual internship with Wave Media, and yesterday they had their graduation ceremony. So they took part in a 10-week program, and they absolutely gave amazing speeches. So they were a classic example of what it is to unmute your mic. So I think sometimes young people they actually can surprise themselves how amazing they can be if they only just plucked up the courage to unmute their mic. So please spread the word on that one, because I think it is the new norm. Unmute your mic. Okay, really important that you make positive first impressions. As we've always said, it always counts. Positive impressions show that you're keen and that you're willing and receptive to learn. You know, make sure that you show that you commit and that you are reliable, because so many of our opportunities that come through, we're very much looking at the students that are committed and are reliable, because if we are going to put them forward for opportunities. So for example, quite recently there was an opportunity with Elle magazine, an internship opportunity, and we pretty much selected the students that we knew were committed and reliable. So it's really important that you have that consistency, and you start that kind of consistency now in year 12. Really important that you start to reflect and record your experiences, because it will all make sense and it will all take you along that journey to where you need to get to. So for example, if you start recording evidence now, you'll definitely be able to use it on your CV or any job applications or university applications. It really helps you to kind of get that kind of reflective journal and really highlight the skills that you've acquired along the way. Talk about your ideas, parents, with carers, with careers team, with your tutors. It helps breathe life into it. Really get involved, and get ahead news is the order of the day. So I'm just going to play you a very, very quick video which kind of showcases what enrichment looks like for us here. Okay. So moving forward, so here's an idea as to the kind of things that we have planned and scheduled in moving forward. So as you can see, in the new year, we start to explore your post-18 options, really, in terms of what next after your course, whether it be apprenticeships or gap year opportunities. Moving into February, we look at a closer look at UCAS processes and research options. In March, we tend to then explore your next steps, and then there's parents' evening that will be scheduled in for that. In the summer months, we then do the kind of summer research talks in terms of kind of capturing any kind of last-minute enrichment opportunities and the importance of open days, etc., and a careers fair to be announced shortly. Okay, and also, as well as that, there will be ongoing one-to-one careers advice and support throughout the academic year. Okay, just to alert you regarding online events that are actually coming up. So there's a Year 13 online applying for an apprenticeship on Wednesday the 30th of September between 6 and 7. And there's a link, and further details we put in the comments box as well. So the reason why we put this up is that we just wanted to stress that you are all welcome to join this event. So it's not just for final year students here. So I just wanted to alert you that it's something that's coming up very soon. Okay, so here's the team, the careers team. So we've got Joe, who heads up the service. There's myself, there's Ben, and there's Jan. all smiley, all ready to receive bookable appointments with students, and we're finding that it's working really well. We are, communicating really well with all the students, and they know that we are there, through email and communication through audio visual mechanisms as well. Introduce yourself and what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Harriet. I'm a 4th year medical student studying at the University of Leicester. So what that means is I've done 2 years of preclinical training, basically lots of lectures, and I'm currently going into my 2nd year of clinical training in this lovely COVID-19 world. So I completely understand you're all apprehensive, guys, about going to 6th form, because we're all having to shift around, I think, how we do things. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, so like how would you describe your study routine? I mean, obviously in light of all that's going on now, how is it working for you? If you could talk us through, how are you working through that process?
Yeah, of course. I think not to echo what everybody else has been saying, but it's so true that I think a lot of it is just embracing kind of the crazy new normal, and kind of taking the opportunities as they arrive, because unfortunately they are few and far between. So in terms of my study routine, something that I'm finding is really important at the moment, because I am on the wards and I am, I guess, at a higher risk of potentially needing to quarantine or being unwell, is to really, really stay on top of my work. It's something I've always been quite good at since 6th form. In my lower 6th form, I wasn't as good at keeping on top of my work. Found that it came to my AS exams and I felt really stressed and worried about them, and kind of vowed to myself I wasn't going to do that again. So I have been since then quite good at revising as I go along, as somebody else has already mentioned this evening. But I think under the current circumstances, it's even more important to just make sure you've understood what you need to at the time, because unfortunately you don't know whether or not you're going to be off, or your teacher's going to be off, or I can't grab a consultant because they're quarantining. So I think just a lot of it is just about being prepared, really, and not leaving things till last minute, because it's just so unpredictable.
Wow. So what would you have done differently when you were in 6th form then?
That's a great question. Things on it, being honest, lots of things, and I think a lot of it is making your own mistakes and learning from them, but the main ones, they probably would be firstly to maintain more of a extracurricular social life than I did. I was very focused on kind of revising and getting good A levels for my medicine degree, but actually when it came down to interviews at a university, they were far more interested in what actually made me me. And so at the end of it, you still need to have a bit of yourself and your own personality left over, and actually then when you actually get to university, which I know feels like a long way off when you're just starting 6th form, but it really does kind of swoop by. I wished that, looking back, that I'd maintained more of my hobbies, because the beautiful thing about uni is you get to pick them all back up again with I say that, and like I said before, I think just hit the ground running from year 12, because you really do make your life so much easier if you do put in those few extra hours before Christmas of year 12, and kind of don't kick back and think, oh, I'll wait for mocks, because they will come, and they will come quickly.
Okay, so did you access much enrichment opportunities in your year 12? What was your year 12 like?
Much enrichment activities.
Or any kind of extracurricular?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being completely honest with the answer, no, but not because I wouldn't have wanted to, purely just because my 6th form didn't offer them. And I think having lists and really assured and I'm wishing that. So actually, I didn't, but I think so many of those opportunities sound like the perfect things to prepare you for university, and also the perfect things to talk about if you are lucky enough to kind of get one of those interviews. So I think massively just taking the opportunities as they arise. I mean, I was even some of those things you're discussing, like the Lloyds banking one, I was a bit like, wow, all right,
yeah, there was absolute.
Yeah, and I just think not take for granted that actually for the students watching, it sounds like you've got a really conscientious sixth form and careers team that are wanting to help you. Unfortunately, we don't all have that, so just, you know, grab that, because it sounds fab.
Yeah, and also touching upon what you were saying, that you kind of wish, you know, you found that a lot of it was that they were asking about you, and you kind of felt that you left you behind in terms of the me aspect. And I think you're so right in that respect, because it's the whole 360, isn't it? So yes, it is the academic and it is all the other things, but they're also interested in that additional part of you, which I suppose you were saying that there were bits that behind. What were those things that you could have added value to?
So a lot of what they actually asked me about was how they were very keen to know how I juggled and time managed, and because I had just kind of focused on achieving those A-level grades, it becomes quite difficult to demonstrate to admissions tutors that when you get to university, you're going to be able to cope with workload, and then you're living out of home for the first time. I mean, I've had to work out how to do heating bills, and I'm doing food shops at crazy times of day. They really do want to know that, you know, yes, you're amazing academically, hopefully, but also that as well, that when you come to university, you've kind of got the skills to maintain living and a good well-being, and if you don't demonstrate to them by enjoying your extracurricular activities, you know, then when actual adulting and life stuff unfortunately comes crashing in at university, yeah, some students can unfortunately come unstuck. So I think the best way you can show them that I struggled to is by getting those good grades, but also as well showing that you can juggle a few other things as well. So
yeah, absolutely right. And that comes up time and time again on any application, whether it's for university or for a degree apprenticeship or an apprenticeship. I mean, even most recently, just the other day, looking at an ITV apprenticeship, and it asks that question: how would you juggle your time? Because obviously the nature of an apprenticeship, for example, is working and learning at the same time. So they want to know you've got hard evidence of doing both. So you're absolutely right on that respect. Okay, so what actually motivated you to work hard?
It's a really good question. It ebbs and flows, I think, as with most people. Don't get me wrong, I've not since sixth form felt like the most motivated human 6 years down the line now. But I think it is making sure that what you're choosing to do, you are genuinely passionate about, and I think that comes across. So with all your enrichment activities, were your students to go to those and find a genuine passion for, be it banking, be it legal side, be it healthcare, you will find your own motivation. So for me, I organised a work experience independently, and met some amazing patients, some of which I still quote today if people ask me about them, some of which still really stick in my mind when I can't be bothered to revise for an exam. And I personally am very driven by the privilege of having a bit of insight into these people's lives. That's not everybody's motivation. If yours is you know, financial security, if you're, you know, you've experienced this pandemic, and unfortunately, like my family, people have lost jobs, and you don't want to be in that position, and that motivates you, then that's fab. But I think it is finding a genuine passion for something, that in those late nights when you're stuck at the top floor of the library on a, you know, with a sorry looking sausage roll for dinner, what actually is going to make you want to open the textbook and put a bit of work in. So yeah, but for me it is being nosy basically with patient stories. And I want them to let me carry on doing that. So that's kind of mine. Personally.
Definitely, but I think the good thing that it clearly does show that you were that motivated, that you independently found yourself some work experience. So that again is a clear message that we want to share as well with our students, that, you know, we are here to support them with a menu of opportunities, but also we actively do encourage them to kind of seek out opportunities where they can. You know, so you obviously had that resilience and that kind of strength to do that. Sorry,
I was just going to say, because equally, although all the opportunities that I've just sat and listened to do sound amazing, you as the students will have your own questions that you need answering, that they won't necessarily cater for. So one of the questions I was wondering about when I was thinking, oh, maybe I'd like to apply for medicine, actually was that I didn't know what a junior doctor practically did day to day, and could I see myself doing that day in, day out. And you know, if that's what the question you need answering, there's a certain type of work experience that you need that perhaps is more specialised than the generic ones that schools might offer. So and if you do answer those questions, universities really quite like that you've kind of sorted out in your head and not romanticized anything. You genuinely know that that is the degree for you because you've done your own research into those questions.
And it does make a difference, doesn't it? Because you're supposed, the whole idea is that you're supposed to be in that space to ask those questions, and there's a time and a place for those questions, aren't there? And definitely if you're in that environment, that is the time and the space to ask those questions. So absolutely spot on with that. And obviously it would have breathed so much more life into your personal statement, because obviously medics, you have to have work experience anyway, don't you? Exactly. Okay. So how were you able to kind of prioritize? It sounds like you've had a real kind of, in terms of your study time back to kind of year 12, 13. How were you able to prioritize?
So this was one of those, what would I do differently? Because in year 12 I was awful at it, honestly, absolutely dreadful. I remember getting around mock time and being like, right, I've got everything to revise. Where do I start? I literally need to learn. I need to go over everything. So come year 13, my approach changed drastically, and I made myself focus on the hardest, worst things first. So we all get stuck in the trap of wanting to revise the lovely things that we kind of already know, and we kind of already know we know, and it makes us feel really good because we can recite the 12 different sections of a plant cell really well to the AQA specification. But actually perhaps, you know, we hated that statistics exam that we did and we got 25%. I always made myself start with the things that I was worst at, even though it didn't feel as good at the time. And that's how I prioritized how I kind of structured my revision, because as you'll find out, I'm sure your students will find out, there is always more work you can do. So to kind of keep your sanity levels high, kind of prioritize not the time you do dedicate to revising, making sure it is effective. And so I'm afraid for me that was buckling down with a lot of past maths papers and not doing as much biology, because I naturally took that in more first time round and the statistics went so far over my head. So I made myself focus on that first, and I made myself focus on it closely to the lesson, so that when I didn't understand it, we weren't kind of 4 stages down the line and I was lacking in so much understanding that I would have to unravel half of the module to even begin to understand again. So keeping on top of it and sweating the frustrating stuff you can't do.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important, isn't it? Because I think it can be like a runaway train, can't it? Learning. And yeah, exactly. So I think the trick is to make sure you stay on the train.
Yeah.
and because if you get off, it's a fast network and it's literally
I've not
gonna
been taken of running over lockdown. So up, quite frankly.
Yeah, so it is really, really important. I think I like the fact that you were saying that you made a point of making sure that it was not drifting too far away from the subject at hand. And I think that is a really key message, isn't it? To make sure that, okay, there are going to be things that I don't understand, and that's normal. But one thing I can control is that I'm not going to let it get out of control.
Yeah, no, massively. And actually, about the students this time round, and we couldn't have predicted that, you know, they'd be leaning on the mocks as much as they have. And those students that didn't let the train run away with them and focused on their mocks, I would expect felt comfort in that around what's been really difficult results days. You know, it's, you know, they put in that work and they can feel confident that they have. And I look back and I just think, if that had been me in year 12, you know, so difficult. So that was a big thing that I did learn from letting my train go full steam ahead.
I think that's such a good tip, because it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about, you know, the whole thing about trying to do things in the moment so that you can kind of get a grip and feel a bit more in control of it. Because a bit like what you were saying about the placement, where you were able to ask that question where you kind of want to whisper, what's a junior doctor? You were able to ask it in a safe space. In the same way, if you were getting a grip on the learning, you don't feel so silly asking questions, because it's not so far away from what you've been learning. Where the anxiety sets in is when, you know, that happened how many months ago?
You know, you should know.
Yeah, and by that point the anxiety is kicked in, where you realize, how am I going to look if I ask that question now?
Yeah, but the reality is you need to. So
yes, you know, exactly. But it's a lot more palatable, isn't it, if it's a lot closer to the event? Yeah, not something that happened how many episodes ago. So yeah,
the teacher gives you that side eye, and they know you don't.
Yeah, that kind of, really? Yeah, they know and you know. Yeah, ultimately, yeah, the game's up, basically.
Learn from my mistakes. We've all been there, but please learn from mine.
Also, just touching upon what Anna was saying earlier about the importance of kind of self-care and sleep and rest and things like that. I mean, have you got any top tips, or what would you share about that? Or did you adhere to that yourself? And do you adhere to that now yourself?
The simple answer is yes, because you massively need to, especially when you are at university. You know, you haven't got your mum making your meals, you haven't got you know, someone doing your food shop, so all those things become more under your power than perhaps they were at sixth form, but it's still just as important. I think in that it's just finding what, and also not blaming yourself for not doing, you know, we can all look at our peers and say, oh, they're doing amazingly because they're doing X, Y, and Z. Use this time in sixth form to learn what really works for you, because I did focus on that. So I am an absolute Netflix binger, and I know every teenager says that, but I absolutely love it, and I know that I love it, and I'm not going to make myself feel bad for saying that actually my well-being isn't going for a run. It never has been, it never will be, but it's still important that I have that downtime and my kind of routines, and I've maintained that for the 4 years I've been at university. And I feel really fortunate that even kind of throughout this lockdown, I felt kind of very mentally stable. But you learn those habits kind of now, because this is when it ramps up. So if you can kind of practice some different ways that other people might find useful and see what works for you, it really will serve you well at university. It's such an investment piece to understand how your own well-being does work. So mine is lots of Netflix and always more than 9 hours of sleep, which... no judgment, please, people.
Well, it works for you, because I think like you said, downtime is really, really important to switch your brain off in order to recharge your batteries. I think it's really, really, really important, especially in your line of work, where you're going to be having shift patterns and your sleep patterns and things like that. So
I cope and I tell them I need 9 hours.
Yeah, I was just thinking that actually, but yeah, it's really, really even more important that you do have those windows where you are good to yourself. you know, and that's really important, especially in light of our virtual landscape. I think it's even more important that young people really do take care of themselves.
And actually, universities find that important. I'm on a few admissions teams, and a lot of that. The reason why they would have me on there is purely from a kind of a humanistic point of view. Do I think this person would be able to cope as a medical student? Just in terms of like how, but yeah, just their well-being. And I think lots of students think, oh, I'll say that I play the flute because it de-stresses me. It's like, well, actually, what do you do that de-stresses you? Because universities are interested in that. They want you to be able to be okay when you come and study the course that you've worked so hard to apply for. And it, you know, it's slightly ticking a box, but it also is just important for you. So yeah, no, definitely try and build those foundations now if you can. Ask your mates what they do to stop and relax. Give a few a go whilst, you know, mum's paying for your bath bombs or whatever.
Exactly. Okay, so finally, if you could just kind of share to the audience now your top tips, just in terms of following through their year 12 journey at the very beginning, really, aren't they? So if you could just share some top tips, please.
Yeah, of course. Top tips. I think a major one is you will always feel like you can do more. I remember being offered to do an EPQ, being offered to do kind of 4th, 5th A-level choices, being offered to do school shows, and there are a lot of opportunities out there, and it is important that you do take hold of the ones that are relevant to you and they're important to you and important to your kind of career progression. But it is also important to kind of recognise that you are just one person, and at the end of it all, you do still need to get the A-level grades that these universities are asking for. So try not to take on too much that you can't handle necessarily, and also not even that you can't handle, that take on just enough that leaves space for that kind of wellness that I was talking about a bit earlier, so that when it comes round to sitting your A-levels, actually you are as prepared as possible. Because I remember getting to my exams, and I'd done my admissions tests, and I'd done lots of interviews, and I'd written a personal statement, and I'd done lots of work experience, and I was volunteering every Friday. And I remember getting to May and thinking, I've got actual exams to sit, and if I don't get 3 A's, all of this is for nothing. So yeah, keeping in mind that end goal, and then just kind of plodding along and starting early. It's little and often, and actually, you know, you're studying the 3 or 4 subjects that are your most passionate and most exciting. So yeah, just take it one day at a time, people. Slow and steady does win the race. It's so true. But fab that you're all thinking about your careers this early anyway. To be on this kind of session, you're obviously all already kind of being forward thinking. So massive congrats for that, because it's a good place to start.
Definitely, totally in agreement with everything you've just said. And I think, you know, that the importance of planning early is that the beauty of it is that it alleviates that pressure, doesn't it? That we are able to have this conversation now. You know, it's so timely, because, you know, we say to year 12s, you know, you've got that time. This is your window. So don't panic. So
no. Not at all, because this is literally for you guys, just to say, hey, do you know what, going forward, I quite fancy a life that looks like this, and I'm really passionate about this. Embrace that. It's great fun. You get to do the things that you love for the first time, and, you know, forget about, I don't know, geography. Sorry for people that love geography. I was awful. You know, it really is the time for it. So
exciting, isn't it? It's about embracing it, really, and not being fearful of it.
Massively.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Harriet, for your time. Really appreciate it, and wish you all the best in your career journey. It's definitely a worthy one, and definitely one that we all appreciate.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say. Thanks.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time. Okay.
Okay.
So that brings to the end of the session from my behalf.